So I've had the Saucony or Saucony, whichever way you want to say it, Freedom ISO 2s for about 3 months now. However, I haven't added them in the rotation, so I added them in yesterday. I didn't add them in the rotation just because I wasn't sure if I would prefer them a lot more to the Freedom ones, and I had a stockpile of the Freedom ones, so I didn't want to jump the gun and move on too soon and then not want to use the ones that I've got. So my thoughts based on doing a bit of a tempo run today, so I did 12.5 miles in total, where I ran a 4-mile section tempo, had an 800-meter jog recovery, then did another 3-mile tempo just to put them through the paces in a faster run. And then today I ran 24 miles. And yeah, so first impressions, initial thoughts, the shoe feels very similar to the Freedom ones, which is great. The noticeable things for me are the heel. So the heel cup feels a lot more cushioned than it has done in the Freedom ones, and there's physically, if you look at the shoe, you can see it's padded out more, as is the tongue. Initially that just feels a little bit strange because you're not used to that sort of that cushion there, but that wasn't a bad point. It didn't affect my run, and it wasn't really noticeable, to be totally honest, other than the first sort of, I'd say, 10 minutes. Then you've got the amendments to the crystal rubber sole. So you've got some parts of the sole that's been cut away at the outer, and I think this is to improve flexibility of the shoe and potentially drop a little bit of weight, or maybe just account for the extra cushioning they've got in. So they've put a little bit more ever run in the sole just to give it a little bit more of a plush feel. So I think by cutting those little bits of outsole out, they've potentially reduced the weight a little bit and improved the flexibility. But again, wasn't really noticeable. I felt the same on as I did in the Freedom ones, which is not a bad thing because I love that shoe. So my initial thoughts are the changes that are there don't really have much of an impact from my point of view. Like I said, the initial part of the run, you'll notice that the heel cup is extra padded, and that might feel a little bit loose to you, but I'm sure if you tie your shoes differently, you can nullify that. The heel cup's a little bit firmer as well than the ones. People complained that it would collapse a bit. Well, I never really had that issue, to be honest. I don't know if it affects heel strikers more than it does people who run mid-foot or forefoot. Maybe that's a consideration, I don't know, but I never had an issue with it. But it is a little bit firmer in the twos, but again, no real impact for me personally. And then in terms of running with the shoe, it just feels as good as it always has done. So I use my Freedoms pretty much for everything. I even do some trail races in the Freedoms if it's a dry day, because the grip's just tremendous. The grip is so good, and the crystal rubber sole it's so durable as well. So I've ran 800 miles in my last pair of Freedom ones, and to be honest, they could keep going. I could keep running in them. I'm just conscious of the fact that my mileage is quite high, and a lot of the time my minimum runs for the week are 10 miles, and when you've put the sole through 800 miles, is it wise to keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it? I've kept them because if I'm doing shakeout runs or anything before races where I think, oh, I'm just going to go out and do 3 miles, do a few strides the day before a big race, I'll probably just throw them on, because like I say, they feel absolutely fine. I'm just conscious of the fact that I don't want to push the boundaries too far and potentially end up injuring myself, whether it's shin pains or calf problems or whatever it may be. I've had that in the past with different shoes, so I'm just conscious of that. But other than that, I could quite comfortably go out and run in those. So I'm thinking the Freedom 2s are going to be exactly the same. I think they'll be good for at least 600 miles, so you get your money's worth. And talking of money's worth as well, if you look in the shops at the moment, certainly in the UK, you can pick them up for between £70 and £80, which is obviously a massive reduction on the RRP, which initially was 140, I believe, when the Freedom ones came out. Which, when I first bought them, I was like, wow, this is a really expensive shoe, and am I going to be buying, if I only get 400 or 500 miles out of these, realistically, am I going to be able to afford to constantly keep switching? And yeah, so that was a consideration, but they do so many miles that in reality for me they're cheaper than actually buying a different shoe with a lower RRP, because I just do so many miles out of them that price tag wasn't really an issue. And then over the last sort of 18 months, the price has really come down, so you can pick up the ones now. I got a few pairs for £66, and you can even pick up some of the sort of less than favourable colours in the twos for about £75 now in the UK. Star Fitness online, they've got a choice of the ones and the twos for anywhere between 70 and well, they go all the way up, because with all the colours, all the way up to like 125 I think it is at the moment. But you can pick up a pair of white, which is the ones that I've got, as you'll have seen, for £73 I think I paid, 73, 75, something like that. So yeah, you can pick them up at a reasonable price. And like I say, the durability of them, the feel of them, I personally run in them for track, 5k, trail races, all the way up the marathon. So I did 24 miles today, and a brand new pair of shoes which had only done 12 miles, and that was yesterday, and they felt absolutely great. So can't complain about that. So all in all, I would say it's definitely a buy for me, and I will continue to buy Freedoms. At the moment, I'm not overly fussed with it, the ones or the twos. So if I could pick up the ones cheaper, say I could pick up the ones for £70 and the twos were 80 or 90, I would pick up the ones purely and simply just because I go through so many shoes at the minute that it just makes sense for me to buy the ones. But if they were the same price, I would just go ahead and buy the twos. The only noticeable thing, the only real complaint I've got for the Freedom ones is if you run in the wet and your shoe gets soaked, the insole slides around all over, and I mean slides around all over, to the point where you're out running and say you're at the track, your insole is sliding across your shoe, and you can feel your foot moving across to the side wall of the shoe, which is not great. I did a bit of a recce in the lakes on a wet day where I ran about 20 miles. It wasn't anything fast, but it was a really wet day, so there was a lot of sort of running through puddles and really wet trails, and the insole was just a nightmare. So I ended up, basically the insole crumbled and moved right forward, so my heel didn't actually have an insole. So for me, it's not a deal breaker by any means, but it's just a pain. Like I say, I've had it at track as well, where it's a really wet day and there's puddles on the track, and when you're doing laps and you're going through the puddle time after time after time, it eventually soaks through, and then your foot's just sliding all over the place, which is not great. And I'm sure if you've got like orthotic insoles, if you need those, or if you just buy different insoles in general anyway, that's probably not an issue, because I'm sure you can get insoles that have got maybe like a rubber sort of base, so there's a lot more friction there, so that they don't move around as much. But like I say, in Freedoms alone, I've probably done 5,000 or 6,000 miles since I bought the ones. So yeah, I haven't really got any complaints, because twice I've had issues with the insoles sliding around. And like I say, it was when my shoes were soaked through, socks were soaked through. That was the only real time. I've been out running them when they do get wet, and they're absolutely fine. I think it is just when they get soaked right through. But yeah, I definitely recommend them, and at the minute when you can pick them up for £70, it's a complete no-brainer. They're a lot cheaper than like the Boost variants from Adidas, and then of course you've got all the Nike, the different shoes from Nike, which you can pick some ones at bargain prices, but not with the same technology. So yeah, for me it's a no-brainer. I definitely recommend it. And like I say, I'm not affiliated, but if you go and check out Star Fitness, that tends to be where I pick my shoes up from. They've got a local shop and they've got an online presence, so it's a no-brainer for me, really. Support a local business. So I'll see you guys in the next one.